Welcome back to Inspection Pro Joe, episode 12. Today we have a book to discuss, a very valuable resource that Joey has been reading that he wants to share with home inspectors across the world. So Joey, what is this book you've been reading?
Some of the best insights or best books that come across me is just recommendations from friends. And my friend recommended this book, Principles, Life and Work, and by Ray Dalia. I didn't even know who Ray Dalia was until I bought the book. My friend recommended it and I just bought it. But I definitely wanted to come in and share this with you because it's got my wheels spinning on things that I'm going to be doing within our inspection business and things that I'm going to be changing because of this book. Just amazing, So we're going to come out to you. We're going to share some of these principles and hopefully it inspires you. I strongly suggest if you are a business owner, which you should be, not just an inspector, that you grab this book. It just talks about principles that you can utilize in your life. We're not going to touch on all of them. I just want to go over some. But because it's the new year, I know we talked a little bit about goals, but we're going to touch on chapter 2 of this book, of the Principles Life book with Ray Dalia. And it says, use the 5-step process to get what you want out of life. Number 1, have clear goals. It's always better to start with your goal rather than how I'm going to get to that goal. Start with your vision, start with your goals, because then what happens is you're going to find ways and find paths to achieve that goal. Number 2, identify and don't tolerate the problems that stand in the way of you're achieving those goals. Identify and don't tolerate the problems. A lot of us, we have problems and we're just like, oh, okay, it didn't work. But there's multiple ways to achieve your goals. There's no one right way to run an inspection business, and so you're going to have to take that top level approach to resolve those. Number 3, accurately diagnose the problems to get at their root cause. What is causing the problem? Don't avoid it. Get down to the root cause. Do some diagnostics in your business to get down to the problem. Number 4, design plans that will get you around them. And number 5, do what's necessary to push these designs through to results. One of the things that he talked about was evolving is life's greatest accomplishment and its greatest reward. A lot of us, we get in business and we just don't evolve. We don't grow. I'm guilty of it. With COVID and everything that happened this last year, it was easy for me to go into retraction mode rather than growth mode and plan ahead. And one of the mistakes that we've made, I don't know if it's a mistake, but it's definitely a learning experience, was we didn't have all the pieces in place going into this year to really get to 3 million easily. And that's our goal, was to get to $3 million a year in the inspection business. But when I started looking at the numbers and cracking it, having those goals, I had the goal 3 million. And then I said, okay, well, how can we get there with who we have right now?
Yeah.
If we don't hire a single person, if we don't, hire 2 more inspectors like we did, we just hired 1. How do we get there right now? What's the average inspection cost? And you start with 3 million. And now I figure out, okay, how many inspections does each inspector have at what cost per inspection? And so it really got me grinded. I mean, I was woke up a couple nights ago at 2 a.m. and I was thinking about this, like, holy shit, I need to share this with my leadership team because we weren't evolving. It was like, get through the winter, see what the winter holds. And I wasn't adapting we made changes in COVID. We still did inspections and all that stuff. They were cleaner, gloves, masks, all that stuff, sanitizing everything. But I really wasn't focused on next year. It was like, get through this. And that was a problem. As the leader of an organization, I needed to be planning. And when I read that, it was like, holy shit, if you're not evolving, you're dead.
Yeah.
And it talks about evolving upwards and then you evolve to your death. But evolution happens regardless whether you want it to or not. Yeah. And when I read that, it was like, everything's always evolving no matter what. So I can either evolve with it, or I'm going to be stuck behind. And that was powerful to hear that. It's like you always got to be moving forward and constantly turning. And he talks about it. You know, number one, have goals, face those problems, diagnose,
Yeah.
design, and then do. So, and it never stops. And you're always adjusting. The more problems you get through doesn't mean or just because you solve a problem doesn't mean you're not going to have problems.
Yeah.
You're always going to continue. So the cycle of that, goals, problems,
I love that.
diagnosis,
Yeah.
design, do is always part of our business.
And that's the thing is like these business ecosystems here aren't a vacuum. There's a lot of factors that you have to be aware of, and you have to, involve in your planning. And I think it's really interesting that your greatest superpower as a human being is the ability to adapt. It's why we are where we are today at the top of the food chain. And you have to leverage that in business. And I understand. I haven't read the book, but
I love that you have.
Yeah, and I love that we can have this conversation and we can bring in other analogies. And let's break this down in these 5 steps and talk like the first one, vision here. Let's talk about the power of a vision. I know that there's a lot of people that stand by vision boards, right? Mm-hmm. These are things that people say, get all the aspirations you have, the things you want, get them in a physical, concrete format, a medium. And so the best way to do that is to print out pictures of, the car you want, the house you want, the business you want to grow, things like that. So you can picture it, because a great analogy here is sports. You play baseball, right, Joey?
Yep. Yeah, I did.
So if you're an infielder, what do you have to do? You have to visualize where you're going with the ball if a ball comes to you, right? To be successful. Yep. You can't just catch that ball's in your court. Now, what do you do? Right? You have to visualize it. So I grew up playing lacrosse, and that's one of the things that I would do every day before a game, visualize the plays that could happen so that now when they happen, I'm ready for them. I've been expecting them. I've thought about it. So now to bring that sports analogy back into the business world, that things are going to happen. You don't operate in a vacuum, and you know that things are going to change. That's just the nature of the beast. So you have to think, all right, we can't, guess everything that's going to happen. We're not Nostradamus. We can't predict everything, but we can set ourselves up to be adaptable. We can learn to adapt through practicing here, right? So if you practice, this thought process, it's not always about being ready for that evolution, being ready for the next thing, but it's about, learning to adapt, right? Going through the mental gymnastics of like, all right, what do I do now? If X happens, what do I do with Y? So that the next time that B happens, you now have gone through, creative thought processes, you've solved other issues. And how do we get there from here? So I love the power of the vision. I think that's really cool.
And one thing he talks about, because we touched on a lot of things, diagnosing problems, design, coming up with a plan.
Yeah.
We as people, we only have so much capability. We have weaknesses, we have our strengths. But when you understand the steps of this, right, and the evolving steps, you're not going to be able, some people can do it all. Most people can't. So you're going to need people on your team that can help with this thing. If you set a goal for your organization, everybody in that organization needs to know the goal and know their piece in achieving that goal. And if they don't know their piece, that's a problem for that the leader's not putting in, or there's the right people aren't in place for that. And so he talks about, if you do your strengths in this, but get the people in place that can cover the weaknesses where you might not be the best at diagnosing a problem.
Yeah.
And you as a business owner need to have some humility and understanding that. He talks about that. And it was like, holy shit, this is so powerful. So, and this is just a chapter of his book.
Yeah.
But it just hit me, and I'm just like, oh my God, never rule out a goal because you think it's unattainable. Because our mind thinks, okay, well, 3 million's hard. We don't have enough houses that could get me to that. I don't know if I could get enough market share.
Yeah.
Well, you'll never know unless you set the goal, and then you have to be solution minded and see the problems and then diagnose them at a top tier level. Because if you're a business owner, you need to start thinking of things on the top of the business.
Yeah.
And have that down approach. Get the emotions out.
Yeah.
You know, I started doing some stock trading and it's very emotional. And I need to learn, this was more spoke to me on the stock side of things because it's my own money that I'm putting out to play with, but get the emotion out. Understand like, okay, how do I get more business? What can I be doing? You know, how do I market? What new ways now that COVID struck and I can't be in offices every day? Well, I have the internet, I have social media, I'm friends with tons of realtors. So one of the things that we put in place now is my marketing team is now direct messaging through Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, realtors about our business to give them a discount code.
Yeah.
So they start using us. That's how we're doing things after COVID.
So I think it's a mindset.
Oh, we can't get in offices, so our business is going to suffer. Maybe we'll just send out emails. Well, how can we touch individual realtors better?
Yeah.
Other than Zoom, other than the Zoom happy hours we're doing. And so it got me even thinking, okay, what problems are we facing? Can't get in offices. Well, what's the solution? What's a better way to market?
Mm-hmm.
How are we going to evolve with the times? What are other big companies doing? And I literally was watching a commercial for the Redskins game, and it was a Metcalf HVAC company. And what are they doing? $69. We come out to your house and we'll see if anything's wrong with your system. They're giving a discount and they're blasting it out to everybody.
Yeah.
And if the big companies are doing that, why would I be afraid to give a discount if I need to get more business? And at our size, you know, it should be very easy for me to increase 500 inspections. We did 4,300 last year. If Joe Blow starts a home inspection business and can do 400 to 500 in a year, his first year, I already have the systems in place. It should be very easy for me to match that year in and year out.
Yeah.
And so instead of making excuses of why we're not there, being proactive, solution-minded, seeing the problems, diagnosing them, coming up with a plan. And guys, this is all just after reading this book.
Yeah.
You know, and I strongly suggest it. It's a powerful read.
And a little bit about Ray. The author of this book it isn't a nobody by any means. This is a philanthropist billionaire who is a co-chief investment officer of one of the largest hedge funds in the world. And so I think this is a great guy with great perspectives here. And I love what you're saying right now. It's the kind of mindset thing of the solution-oriented people, right? These are people who are opportunistic and optimistic. You have to see these roadblocks as opportunities to change what you're doing. These are things that shake up the status quo, and these are inevitable. These are things you can't be scared of. These are things that change the environment, and if you're poised to adjust to them and adapt, you can grab market share and be very successful. So I love that you can take everything as an opportunity. And one question I have in that chapter where he's talking about vision, what does he talk about communication? How do you communicate that vision as someone who is leading a team of people or running a company? How do you communicate that to everyone else in your business so that you're all on the same page, rowing the same way?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is communication with, your leaders. And it's what he talks about is, well, one, being very transparent with where you are, who you are. You're being very transparent with your strengths, your weaknesses. And one of the things that really stuck out to me and what he did was he made like baseball cards for all his employees of what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, and how are they rated. And at first, people in this organization didn't like the idea because they didn't want their weaknesses exposed for fear that they'd be fired. But what they realized is when they did that, they were putting the proper people in the right places to be successful. So I think being extremely transparent is key. And then communicating clearly, so everybody from the top all the way down, knows the goals, knows where you're going, knows what you're doing, that is huge. And even when I remember when I started growing and I was a little bit younger and we started growing this company, I was like hiding, like, oh, I don't want them to know that we're making this much money, and for fear that they might not like us.
Mhm.
But in reality, that's like a limited mindset. If I'm scared of that, right? If I'm scared of growth, that means other people, I'm not giving other people the opportunity to make six figures, to make 150. And so that's a me problem within our organization, that I need to make it very clear the path on how you get there. So now when we hire people, and I'm glad you brought this up, we show them, hey, this is what an inspector starts out at. This is where you can go as a team lead, and this is where you can go as a manager within our organization. And the more we grow, the more opportunities there will be at the top.
So it
So
sounds
you
like
give them the path.
it sounds like you came to the realization that, your business is not a zero-sum game. Yeah, your gain is not someone else's loss in the business. You're all in it together. A
Yep.
rising tide raises all ships, right?
Yeah, and you look at it, if the more people that can make six figures within an organization, the more successful that organization is going to be. If there's only one guy at the top that's making six figures, your organization is not going to be as successful as it can be.
Yeah.
And it's lonely. I want people up there with me. And, we've kind of created that in Dino Frio, where I have a couple leaders that work together on the leadership team, and I'm a part of that. I'm not above them. We work together for the people below us. And our job as leaders isn't to be inferior of somebody taking our position, but helping them get to our position, so then we can rise up. And then, a rising tide raises all ships, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly what we want to facilitate and create. And transparency.
Yeah.
Right? Letting people know that there's a possibility, sharing the numbers with people. How much revenue did we do this year? Setting a goal of 3 million. If somebody in your organization is inferior by that, then they may not be around next year. That's their problem. And I want people that want to raise up and rise and grow. But at the same time, if they just want to do a great inspection, as long as they're doing their what they were hired to do exceptionally well, they may not want to be a team lead. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
That is perfectly fine, as long as they continue to do the job they're doing well.
Yeah. And so,
but we want to promote growth within our organization. We want to give people the path so they know where they need to go to grow.
I love that.
Or know what they need to do to get ahead and to get to that six-figure mark.
I love that you want to empower the people you work with, right? And they'll just be even more motivated to work as a team and hit that goal. And I love that. I love the power of that vision there. So the next point I wanted to talk a little bit about was point 2, the identifying the problems. I think this is really interesting because everyone goes about it very differently. And there's a lot that goes into identifying problems, because you can look at a situation and say that X, Y, and Z are the issues there, right? And so I wonder what he talks about in the process of identifying problems. Does he get into empathy and putting yourself in the shoes of maybe a client or a customer or someone that's working on your team? How do you identify those problems and go through that process?
Well, he hasn't touched on that, but I think it's very important to be empathetic. Don't be sympathetic, right? See where the other people are coming from. And that is huge. Like, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, so I'm not going to act like it. If somebody has a different viewpoint for me, it's my job as a leader to understand why they have that viewpoint.
Yeah.
So he's talking about more of a top level approach of taking emotions out of it and really getting to the root cause of why somebody thinks about that. And when you can understand both sides, where people are coming from, you're better for it. You're going to make better decisions. You're going to be a better leader. You're going to be somewhat respected because you took time to listen to somebody.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where he even said, I don't have to be the first person to speak. And normally I'm the last.
Yeah.
I want to hear what other people have to say before I chime in. And by doing that, he's empowering the people he's working around.
I love that.
That's huge.
One of my favorite examples in history of that is one of our founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson, right? He was a quiet guy who would listen. He would listen and listen and listen, and he would take time to respond. He might not respond to your argument or your debate the day of, but the next day he'll come back and say, you know what, I was thinking about what you said, and here's my response to that. And I think that is very important. We live in a very fast world with instant gratification, where you always have to come to conclusions right away. People want to come to meetings and, feel like they are engaging, and so they'll give you answers and answers and answers right away without really thinking about it. And I think that's a huge, advantage to identifying problems, is taking the time to think about it, letting it marinate in your mind so that you can really be creative, have a holistic view of the issue. And I think that, that's something you can have in your toolkit, is time, and realize that, maybe we don't have to come up with the answer right now in this meeting, but it's something that we can think about.
Exactly. Guys, get this book, Principles, Life and Work by Ray Dalia. It's an incredible read. In the first part of the book, you hear this guy's story. He started Bridgewater Associates in a 2-bedroom apartment, and grew it over time. It didn't happen overnight. It took him like 20 years to really start growing this thing, to now they have over 1,000 employees. And now he's not even involved. He stays on as the co-chief investment officer, but he's not the CEO anymore. And that's one of those things. If you die today, will your business keep running?
Yeah.
Are you putting the right people in place to run your company, to build leaders, and to build that organization that can carry on and keep evolving even after you're gone, and be there probably to support your family, your friends? So I strongly encourage you reading it. Guys, if you like this business podcast, please review it. Please subscribe to our channel. We're trying to give you tons of value packed, where you can do a better inspection, but that you can grow your inspection business. There's tons of technical shit out there. This is not one place where we're doing that, because we want to help you grow. We want to help this business, your business, strive in 2021 and years to come. We really do. And so check out this book, subscribe to our channel. And I do want to give a plug into Pair Payments, because I was looking at my end of year financials, and holy shit, the money that we've saved in credit card processing fees has been tremendous. So if you are looking at your budget this year and you are trying to find ways to cut spending, this is huge. If you are a big business, do it. It is huge. Contact Pair Payments. They do it the right way. They're the only company in our industry that I know of that does it the right way. They escrow the money out of your account. It never touches your bank account. And you pay no fees on your credit cards. And they also do traditional, but I want to help you save money so you can grow your business. So wanted to give a quick plug to Pair Payments, because they do host this podcast and they do tremendous, and I do use them within the inspection business that I run. So thanks, Jake.
Thank you. And you know what, Joey, thank you for bringing up that book, because I can't wait to get my hands on it as well. I saw it's listed everywhere. You can get it from $12 to $20, and I think that it's going to be a very, very valuable read. So I'll definitely take advantage of that resource. And I also want to bring up, if anyone in our audience has any resources that they want to recommend that we take a look at, or that we bring up and share with some of our listeners, please send them our way. Comment them on YouTube, on any of the podcast services. Comment them on email us. Reach out through our email. Whatever you want to do. Get us some books. We love to read, and we love to share that with our listeners. But thank you for sharing that, Joey.
Awesome. Thank you guys for listening. And Jake, thanks for being the best co-host with me, brother. I really appreciate you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, man. And thank you to all our listeners again. We'll see you next week.